Hi everyone, welcome back to Stamp with Anna, and today I'm going to show you another card that we made at stamp class where we were playing with Stampin' Up's vellum paper. And this is the card that we made. It's really sweet. It's a vellum layer over a piece of Whisper White, and the flowers have been embossed in white embossing powder and then colored with Stampin' Blends. So let's get started. Let me show you what we need. I have a piece of thick Whisper White, which is cut at 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. I have a piece of rich raspberry, which is cut at 3 1/8 by 4 3/8. And then I have a piece of vellum, as well as a piece of Whisper White, which I can't find right now. And it is cut at 3 by 4 1/4. Hold on one second, let me find that piece of white. Okay, I found it. It was tucked underneath something. And again, this is 3 by 4 1/4. And don't worry about these measurements, they'll all be on my blog. So the first thing we're going to do is emboss on our vellum. And vellum is wonderful. You do have to be careful with it. If you do have oils on your fingers, and I have all kinds of ink on mine right now, so I'm hoping this project is going to come out good. If you have oils on your finger and you get the oils on the vellum, you'll see it very faintly, but you might see it. So the first thing I'm going to start out with is my embossing buddy. Very, very important when embossing, and I think especially when embossing on vellum, which is such a transparent, beautiful but transparent paper. So I'm going to apply my embossing buddy really well. And now I'm going to use the Touches of Texture. I know I use this all the time, but I absolutely love it. It's a 2-piece set. And I'm going to use this flower and this little flower. And I am going to stamp with Versamark. And I'm going to just stagger them around my paper. No rhyme or reason, I'm just making my own pattern. And when you're stamping with the embossing, with the Versamark on the vellum, it is kind of difficult to see where you've stamped. But if you just move it a little bit, you can see where it is. And you see I've put a piece of scrap paper underneath because I am going off of my paper a little bit. I'm going to put one here. And I am going to purposely keep myself one corner that has no stamp on it so that I have someplace to hold. Nope. And then I'm going to come in with my smaller flower, and I'm just going to fill in again, trying to see where there is an open space. I'll put one right there, and I have one right there. All right, and that's the end of my stamping. Now I'm going to take my white embossing powder. I'm going to change the piece of paper underneath my project because I don't want to get my white embossing powder on the parts that had been stamped off of my paper. So let me just find my corner where I'm going to hold this, and I'm going to sprinkle my white embossing powder all over. And then I'm going to tap it off nicely. And give it a quick once over. Make sure that I got powder everywhere I need it to be. And if I see any strays, I'm going to come in with a paintbrush. And I'm just going to scooch that off. Now I'm going to pour this right back into my jar. So that's why you notice embossing powder goes a long way. I'm just going to, no matter how careful I try to be, I always get embossing powder all over my work surface. Okay, so I'm going to close that up. And now I'm going to bring in my heat tool. And again, I'm going to hold this right in the corner here where I didn't do any stamping. And I'm going to emboss this up. And I'm not going to have you sit here and watch me emboss this, but I do want to show you how it looks when it starts going. You can see the embossing powder, when it starts to melt, turns a nice bright white. And so you can see it happening right here in this corner right here. You want to keep your heat gun moving because you don't want to burn any one little section. And vellum is somewhat fragile. Delicate, I should say. If you over emboss, you will warp your paper and your design. So I'm going to go off camera, finish embossing this, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back with my embossed vellum. So now what I'm going to do is tip it over, and I'm going to color it. So for that I have blends. I have light Daffodil Delight, light Flirty Flamingo, and dark Rich Raspberry. Now I'm not going to use Stampin' Write markers. You can. I found though that the alcohol marker dries quicker, and therefore I run less of a risk of making a mess. So let me show you what I mean. I did this with Poppy Parade, and although it looks all right, you can see that I smudged all over the back here, this red all over the place, because it wasn't dry, and it was on that special surface of the paper, and I smudged it. So when you're coloring this, the blends, they are very, very smooth. So with the Daffodil Delight, I'm just going to fill in the centers of my flowers. And it goes real quickly. You don't have to worry about getting inside those lines on the inside of the flower, because when you turn it over, the white is the border anyway. So now I'm going to come in with my light, and I'm using the thick end of the blends. There's a thin end and a thick end. So now with my light Flirty Flamingo, again, I'm going to just color in. I am going to pay attention to the outside border of the flower, but on the inside border, I really can just go right over the white lines. Okay. And as you can see, it does go rather quickly. And now the last large one. Like I said, if you've colored with the blends, you know what I mean when I say it's just so smooth. No need to press down hard on the markers. They just glide so nicely. Okay, a little darker right there. Like I said, in the background here, which just does not look very pretty at all, but once you turn it over, it's going to be very stunning. Now I'm going to come in with my dark Rich Raspberry, and the reason I chose the dark, where all the other two, the Daffodil Delight and the Flirty Flamingo, were light, and the Rich Raspberry is dark. The reason I did that is because the dark is closest to the shade of Rich Raspberry on my cardstock, and I did want it to link back to that. And also my ribbon, you'll see, is an absolutely gorgeous ribbon, is the same shade. And my last one. How fast was that? That was super, super fast. And once I turn this over, I know it looks like a hot mess right now, but once we turn it over, you'll see just how beautiful it is. And you can also see if you've missed any spots. So we turn it over. Let me just flip that right there. Isn't that gorgeous? So now we just have to attach it to our white, now that I found my white. And you may have noticed when you attach vellum, you either strategically have to attach it where it's not going to show on the back, or there are plenty of products out there that tell you you're not going to be able to see it. But you know what? You always can. So I'm going to show you a little trick. I'm bringing in my silicone pad, my silicone mat, and I'm going to make myself a little well of liquid glue. I'm going to turn my card, my vellum onto the back side, and I'm not with a heavy hand at all. I'm just going to put enough that it's going to attach. It's going to hold to my paper, my cardstock. And it's going to dry. You don't want to put a whole lot, but it is going to dry clear. So these two are the exact same size, so they will match up beautifully. And you do have a little bit of play with the liquid glue. All right, and there we go. So it's nice and mounted. Now I'm going to mount that just using some regular snail onto my rich raspberry. And you can see what I meant when I mentioned why I used the dark rich raspberry. See, this picks that up very, very nicely. And now the last thing we need to do mount-wise is just to mount this onto our card base, which is thick Whisper White. I'm going to put this right in the center there. Let me go this way. Now I have, flip that over, I've got a stain on it. Now I have cut a piece of its velvet, rich raspberry velvet. This was a free item during Celebration. I hope you were able to take advantage of it. But if not, any color, any rich raspberry would look nice. So the thing with this is I could not get a glue dot to hold it down. So what I did was, again with my liquid glue, I put a little, it might be a bit too much, but I have a little dot, and then I'm just going to place my bow right over that. It will dry clear. And there's the card. I put it on different sides, and you know what? I put it where I put it because I had a little smudge back there, and I strategically put my bow to hide my mistake. And I tell the ladies that there's never a mistake in stamping. It's just always a new opportunity to further embellish. So there's another card using using vellum embossing and then coloring with markers. If you have any questions about this project or any of the products I've used, please contact me through my blog, www.stampwithanna.blogspot.com. Thanks so much. I'll see you back here later.